and thanks to our team once again. So Omer, if you would like to come up, and Stephen Farmer, we put out a request to attendees that were interested to be able to come in and get in the hot seat with these amazing leadership experts. And we got some responses that were just utterly amazing, but we picked a couple, and the first that I would like to call up is Joanne Marlowe. Joanne, I don't know, is this going to be okay for you to sit?
Okay. I have to be lifted up. I'm only 5 feet tall.
You got 3 guys up here that'd be happy to help you. Here to serve.
I've known Joanne for years and years, and we've done some wonderful things together in the coaching and business world. And Joanne submitted a question. She has a really varied experience behind her, and she's looking at how to narrow that and focus that into a target audience. And I know that a lot of us have problems with that. You're just finding that what they call niche or target audience. So, Joanne, you can expand upon that and get the help of these wonderful people, these leadership experts.
I hope somebody's taking notes for me. I really need to listen to the answers. I have a very diverse background, and one of my gifts is wisdom. So I want to share that with the world. And one of my definite dilemmas is the fact that I'm having trouble deciding which book to write first. And my background basically is in education and leadership, and I am a generation gap closer. So I'm taking a look at all the millennials and the changes that are coming into the world, but also the fact that millennials, those 18 to 35-year-olds, are saying, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And then I'm looking at the 50-plus, and they say, is this as good as it gets? And how am I going to spend the last decade or two working and helping them to find absolute joy in the jobs that they're doing? So I don't know where to start. You know, I've got so much diverse information. So I guess my question to all of you is, you know, what are some ways that I can actually decide on which target to approach first?
Of the 2?
Yes, those would be the 2. Yeah. Whether it's youth and how they can actually become leaders within organizations, or whether it's the 50 to 62-year-olds who are saying, is this as good as it gets?
May I tackle this one?
Go ahead.
I have the same dilemma, and I think many of us do, because we live in a global age of knowledge. We're all Renaissance people, and I see stuff all the time that says, I'm an expert in 40 areas, because we're all getting older and wiser, and we have a lot of information. My recommendation, this is what I've done, is to find the things that you are most passionate about and where your experience is deepest. Because then you can speak from that own knowledge versus having to go learn something new. I mean, if you want to go talk to millennials, you got to kind of get into the millennial brain, okay? You know, so think about our generation, and think about how you can affect our generation, because we've lived through the same times, and we've shared the same experience from pre-internet and pre-cell phone to what we are today. So I would say look at the things that I think are the depth of your experience, because then you will write more deeply and you will share more deeply, because that's part of who you are and your ways of being. Get down 1 or 2.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
As I've already pointed out, I came from humble beginnings, but there came a point in time when I not only had dined and danced in the White House, flown on Air Force One, slept in the Lincoln bedroom, and was meeting international leaders and consulting for Nelson Mandela and the Constitutional Revision Commission. And so a lot of people, knowing my background, ghostwriters, kept saying, you have to chronicle your story, and I'll do it for you. You just relate it to me. I heard that so many times. And I kept saying, the only person who could write my story is me. And in response to your question, Rick Frischman, I believe to be here today. If not, he'll be around. He's one that really helped me. He said, the only way it gets started, you sit down, you allocate 45 minutes, and you just put pen to paper and start writing. Stream of consciousness. Just start writing. Take a break, come back, do another 45 minutes. It really worked. You'll never start to write your book if you're an aspiring author unless you take the time, that immediate moment, to put the pen to the paper and to start writing. Or if you type, I'm somewhat technologically challenged. I've acquired some facility. But, you know, I was writing longhand and then later typed it as I edited. But do it, and do it now, not tomorrow. If you're in basket, if you're like most of us, will never be empty. It will never be empty. And you'll think, oh, I've got to take care of this first, then I'll get around to writing my book. It doesn't work. You just have to do it.
Thank you. That's excellent advice.
I have a trick. Go buy a voice recorder that'll transcribe to text and just start talking into it. Just start tell your story. Because the best stories that you can write are the ones that you can tell. And then it follows your brain as it's coming out, as opposed to trying to think about it and then write it and then edit while you write. And that's always a challenge for writers, is editing while you write, because your one paragraph takes you days to figure out because you're trying to get every word right, right? Don't do it. Just write it out. Stream of consciousness is the best way to do it.
Thank you. That is a great tip. Thank you so much. Thank you, Viki, for allowing me to be up here and receive the genius of our panel here. Thank you.
Thank you, as always, Joanne. And I wanted to give you an award for your courage of coming up and getting in the hot seat. We would like you to join us for our team dinner tonight.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, with all the masterminds. Mindfulness winners. Thank you, Joe. Okay.
Viki, allow me one comment about what Colonel Cook just said. Sure. You've got to be very careful, because Viki was kind enough to interview me for publication purposes. It was over the telephone. It was a Q&A, and then she sent it to me as transcribed, and she had gotten a response, or she had asked the question, how is it that by age 29 you were named Ventura County's Outstanding Citizen? And I said, and this isn't necessarily good, I was a confirmed workaholic. So she sends me the transcript back, and it says, I had become a confirmed alcoholic.
No.
Something got lost in the transcription, for sure.
So giving your story verbally is fine, but be sure and reread it.
That's great.
Having I don't know if this having done that, having heard this excellent advice, where are you at? What are you going to come away with?
I think
Microphone, please.
The question. Okay, hello. This is the voice of God.
hello.
Having heard this, I'm just curious about your response. You know, what are you inspired to go one direction or the other? You know, what are you going to walk away with?
Thank you for asking me that. I think without a doubt, I can make the biggest difference in this world if I share all the information that I have in making the 50 to 62-year-old really, really excited about the last couple of decades of their work and how to do it. I want them to feel fabulous.
Okay, I'm gonna play teacher with you. I'm gonna give you an assignment: 2 pages a day.
2 pages a day. Okay, that's a great goal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we also had Victoria Travish. You here, Victoria? Fabulous. Come on up. Or come on down.
Hello.
And one of the things I loved about Victoria's question was she wanted to know from the experts, what's the greatest piece of wisdom that has ever been given to you, and who gave it to you, and how has it changed your life? And I think we'd all like to hear that from these experts.
Thank you, Viki. And a little background on me. I'm an author. I've written a book called Dead Rita's Wisdom, Simple Words to Help You Live an Extraordinary Life. I did not have the genius of Viki Winterton, so it is an international best-selling book in my head. And the approximately 1,500 people who have bought it told me that it has changed their life. But I really focus on wisdom. And I focus on leadership and communication. And I define wisdom as applied knowledge. So my three-part question: what is the greatest piece of wisdom you've received? Who gave it to you? And how did it change your life?
I think the greatest piece happened early in life, in my case. As I've already said, I was born on a farm, Missouri Ozarks, because I'm born before we entered World War II, but it was about to erupt. My father was off for wartime duties, and I didn't really see him for the first 5 years of my life. As a result, my mother, my brother, and I lived with my maternal grandparents. And they beat into me that you don't have a lot of what many people have, but in this country, you can achieve anything. Whatever you aspire to, dream big, and never forget those dreams and reach for them. And that golden ring may come around only one time. Try to recognize it and grab for it. So I think that was the most important advice I ever got. You know, no one in my family had ever gone to college, but somehow it was drilled into me that it's mandatory that you go to elementary school. I was in a one-room schoolhouse. Then there's high school, and then there's college. Never occurred to me that, like, it was all mandatory. And I had a pretty wild and rambunctious high school period where, and I'm not proud of it at all. But even at that, it never once occurred to me that I would not go to college, and eventually postgraduate school as well.
Thanks.
I went to my bachelor's degree, UC Riverside, and I played football there, and there was a groundskeeper, older man, probably in his 60s, 70s. And there would be occasionally we'd ask him, Herb was his name. And we go, Herb, what's a good word? And he'd go, save your money. That was a brilliant piece of advice. It's so simple. Save your money. So, yeah, that always stayed. That's the first thing that came up. You know, I'm not sure if that's what you wanted, but that's the first thing that came up in my weird, you know. It's not easy being me, I got to tell you.
But it's working for you, I can
There's a
tell.
lot. But I think it brings up another thing is don't take any of this too seriously. You know, I could come up with 10 different things that would be words of wisdom that I've gathered, aphorisms, etc. But I think just like keep your sense of humor about this as best you can. There's serious moments in life, don't get me wrong, but keep your sense of humor about it. Second thing I think of is opportunity. When the opportunity strikes, you know, take it. There's so many instances where something has been given to me in terms of an opportunity, and there again we go back to, you know, choice is, okay, do I choose how to respond to that and to take that opportunity. But cut to the chase, the best piece I think I could come up with for your question is, if you get off the horse, if you fall off the horse, get back on it. You know, don't. This is something you referred to.
Who gave you that advice?
Who gave that to me? I don't know. I tell you the truth, I don't know where that came from. You know, this.
Probably came when he fell off the horse.
I fell off the horse is what happened, and
The horse gave it to him.
and this very mean trainer said, "Get back on that horse." No, it's just it's a friend of mine did skydiving. She said she was on her 10th dive, skydiving. Anybody skydive by any chance? I'm curious. Well, of course. She said that her chute wouldn't open. You know, she was going down like this, and the pressure of the wind didn't allow her chute to open. And this is where it came from. And so she managed to turn around at the very last minute, just in time for the chute to open. She hit really hard. The instructor came over to her and said, "You okay?" And she was shaking, of course, all the adrenaline and cortisol, but she was shaking. And she said, Cindy is her name. Cindy said, yeah, I think I'm okay. She said, "Great, pack up your chute. We're going up again." She did 120 dives after that. That's called get back on the horse.
My pearl is never stop learning. You're going to anyway, so embrace it. In my first class in Air Force ROTC, it was taught by a professor of aerospace studies, actually an active duty colonel named Andrew Setlow. And I'll never forget, one day we were in class, and it was early in the program, and he was talking about college students and what happens when you go to college. And in those days, you know, high school kids were pretty homogenous. We only had 3 channels of TV, and our curriculum was pretty standardized across America: reading, writing, arithmetic. And when you go to college, you're all kind of come from the same sort of homogenous society, generally speaking. And he said, you students are just like a beaker in a chemistry class. And when you come in here, everything about you is in this beaker. But now you're going to start adding different ingredients to it. You're going to specialize in a major. You're going to get involved in activities. You're going to meet new people. And all of those people and all those things that you're involved with are adding ingredients to your being. They're adding to your beaker. And we're going to shake it up, and after about 4 years or 5 or 6 years, depending on how long it takes you to graduate, you're going to come out a totally different person in the end. You're going to pour a different person out of that beaker. And that's a good analogy for college students, but I think it's a greater analogy for life, because we are all beakers. We're just vessels. And every day our experience, the people that we are involved with, the people we choose to be with, the people who are thrust into our lives, they're all influencing us. It's one of the paradoxes of leadership I talk about, is that leadership is just influence, in a word. And paradoxically, we as people are influencing other people in the environment around us. But paradoxically, those people in that environment are influencing us in return, okay? And so we're all part of this big, massive thing. So be careful about what you put in your beaker, and don't let poisons enter your beacon. Strain them out, and go for those positive things. So that's my little analogy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck, Victoria. Yeah.
And we would also like you to join us for our team dinner tonight.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Wonderful. So while we have these fabulous gentlemen on stage, we have some more gifts for you. And from you, we don't have the book yet in solid form, even though it just went bestseller yesterday, but I'm going to let you give that to someone
Okay.
in the audience, okay? So, how's your drawing arm?
Pretty good. I'm going to turn this into a paper airplane and sail it out there. Gift certificate, paperback copy of the book will be mailed to you of Ready, Aim, Thrive. Discover how to flourish and prosper today from top experts. Okay, I'm going to do like a bridal thing here.
Okay, great.
Who got it? I didn't see it.
Fabulous. Okay, and you've already received a wonderful gift from Stephen Farmer. We have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to keep some of these for you, Omer. And here are some excerpts from the wonderful interview we did together, and also a copy of your book. So let me get some. What do we need? 6? 3, 4, 5, 6.
I should be able to throw. My father, actually, before I was born back in the 30s, played for the St. Louis Cardinals, the famous Grass House Gang. And my dream was always to be a Major League Baseball player. And I had everything going for me, except sufficient ability. That notwithstanding, I should be able to throw. You want me to throw all of these?
Well, you can throw them one at a time if you like.
Okay.
You were right. We have no ability.
These don't throw very well. This is terrible. Where did you get these, Viki?
Somebody grab it.
We'll try that. We'll try a frisbee throw. I'm clearly aiming at her. Oh, the frisbee works. One more. Is that it? That's it.
Okay, so everyone who call and come up and get, the first person up will get a copy of Omer's book, and the rest will get a wonderful excerpt from the published magazine.
The lady I kept hitting ought to get the book. Are you the one I hit? I'm sorry.
You hit the right person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you so much.
No, I don't do well with this.
Here's another one.
Yeah, you just keep that.
Yeah, there's an extra one.
One more throw.
One more throw.
One more throw. I'll do the frisbee again.
Come on up and get your magazine. Yay. Fabulous. And I want to thank Beth McLean from Canada for bringing up Dr. Stephen Farmer's Spirit Animal book. And we will have a winner for that as well. There you go. Whoever caught it, you want to come on up and get the book? Oh, there we go. It just dropped. I picked it up right. So it meant something, right?
There you go. We had to catch you guys at that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now I'm up here. I might as well meet the gang. Hello. Thank you. I got a kiss. How nice. Now I better give you a kiss. Oh my God.
I'm very serious when I say this. I'm a Californian, even though I was born in Missouri Ozarks. I've lived most of my life in California. And I am a huggy, touchy, feely person. So I hug people all the time. And they're ordinarily sustained hugs, especially if it's a female.
So Kathy Greenberg couldn't be with us because, as I mentioned, her grandchild was born last night. And what is wonderful, she sent along a hard copy of her book for every single one of you. So that is in your bag. This is a New York Times bestseller. And hopefully she'll be able to join us next year and be able to tell you all about it. She's an amazing leadership expert. But she also gave us a copy of her brand new book, Fearless Leaders. And I'm just going to close my eyes and throw for someone to. Come on up and get it. There you go. I know. Here you go. You're welcome. Okay, so it is 10:15, and we're a little ahead of time. Does anyone have a burning question for these amazing men that we have on stage? If you do, we have time for one more question. I think you were first.
Hi, thank you for all your contributions this morning. I was just wondering, what was the key turning point? What was the big shift for each of you? Repeat that. What was the key turning point? What was the big shift for you?
Well, I think it's pretty evident in my case. I, like others here, perhaps was an overachiever much of my life, whether it was academically, professionally, or in any other way, certainly athletically. But the key was my aneurysm, because I changed my whole life. And I'm very proud of what I had done prior to that time. But what I've done since that time has enriched me more than anything I did earlier in life. That's my key turning point.
I was a very, very shy kid. Grew up, who hasn't, but I grew up in a nutty family. And was the fourth child of four, two brothers and sisters older. And I was a jock. I was an athlete in high school and college, played football, wrestling, etc., that sort of thing. And after college, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I felt compelled. I knew I was going to teach. I just knew it. It was something inside, soul's, the soul's karma, the soul's purpose, etc. And I would describe it as a teacher healer. But I didn't know quite how to go about that. And then applications opened up to this one community college in Orange County, California, where I've lived for a number of years. And I went down to do the interview. I had, I did an okay kind of interview. And I figured, good, I'm out of college. I got a master's, which you can do in community college in California. You can teach with a master's in psychology. And when I went down to the interview went very, very well. I was really pleased. And she went off to talk to her boss or supervisor or something. And I thought, great. She's going to come back and I'll teach Psych 1A, maybe eventually teach Psych 1B, the second course, etc. So I got really pretty excited. And she comes back, and here's this former shy kid, athletics kind of saved me, drew me out of my bubble. She comes back and she says, yeah, we'd like to hire you. And I'm going, great, I'm happy. What, tell me what the gig is. And I didn't say it that way. I said, that's great. So what? And she says, we want you to teach assertiveness training. And man, that blew me away. I mean, I acted, on the outside, oh, great. On the inside, I'm like shuddering in terror. How did this former shy kid teach something like assertiveness training? But again, as I mentioned earlier, and these gentlemen have referred to it too, when the opportunity is there, what are you going to do with it? How do you respond to it? So I just nodded and said, okay, great. Went home. I brought 4 books to read. I took a workshop that summer, 2-day workshop, and I taught an 18-week class in assertiveness training. And it opened up the door, basically, to several other workshops and teach. That's what I do. I do private sessions and workshops. And that really, I would say, was a turning point. It really it forced me. I think speaking of how Spirit's intervention, and we pay attention to that, I had no clue as to what I'd be teaching. So when I was presented with that, even though I said, sure, I took it, got on the horse, packed my chute, etc. I got on the horse and I just went for it, and it was a very successful class. The only thing is, I think I was probably maybe 3 classes ahead of everybody else. Okay, I better catch up here, or get ahead of these people. And it went very well, and I continued to teach for the community college system for quite some time. quite some time. So that was a turning point.
I would say it's hard to narrow it down to a specific turning point, because I think our life journeys are filled with, you know, forks in the road and turning points, and some things are forced upon us and we just respond to them and all of that. And so when you think about your entire journey, you know, there's many of them, and all the past experiences have been filled with them. But if I were to think about one which was self-driven, it was the decision to leave the military 10 years ago. I had an extraordinarily successful career, and amazing. I have a chest full of medals, and I did every named operation over a 22-year period. And as a result, because I'm engaged, I learned how to navigate through structure and still be an innovator and an entrepreneur within a very hierarchical, structured environment at that time. And I was rewarded by that with early promotions to major, to lieutenant colonel, and to colonel. And so I was 4 years ahead of my peers. And when I put in my retirement papers, I was a division chief in the Joint Staff doing top secret studies in the basement of the Pentagon. I was coming up for promotion to brigadier general, 1-star general. And in the Air Force, you get these recommendations, and it's promote, definitely promote, or do not promote. It's a very simple structure. And your senior rating officer makes that recommendation. And my senior rater was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a 4-star general by the name of Richard Myers. And on that promotion report, it said definite promote, and he hand wrote the recommendation. It doesn't really get much more powerful than that, I can tell you that. And yet at that point in my life, I was unfulfilled. I had the world of the future opening up to me, and many of my peers are now 4-star generals themselves. And I outranked them, and I was out-progressing them at that time, okay? And so my future was wide open. But, you know, I had been in conflicts near and far. I had missed a lot of time with my family and my children, and my parents were getting older, and I wanted to go home. I really just wanted to go home and make a course change in my own life. And so I just, you know, threw caution to the wind, put in my papers, and went home and decided to become an independent consultant. And, you know, highly paid speaker and published author, and, you know, and I will tell you, you know, it has been the rockiest road I've ever been on in my life. And I love it, because I've learned so much. And I think about how things might have been, could have been, should have been, and all that. But I'm glad I chose the path that I did, because my life has been enriched in so many other ways because of a different way of being and a different structure, and I've learned so much more about myself, and those are the kinds of things that now I can share with other people so they can learn from my crazy experience and the ups and downs. Well, thank you for the question.
Thank all of you, gentlemen.